talking about, mate? I don't look like Steve Jobs. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan Jobs. I hope you lot are all doing well. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, the daily series. Here, of course, on Football Therapy, I'm in focus, where we see what's going on in the news, giving you my opinion, but more importantly, asking for yours. Positive news! Trevoh Chalobah signed a new long-term deal. We're going to reflect on that. Mason Mount's back in contention for this weekend's game. And some more negative news, injury news featuring both Marcus Alonso, and I want to talk about Tino Anjorin, who's broken his metatarsal when he was returning to Chelsea. Ooh, lots to get into. Hey guys, I'd welcome you all to drop a like on this video to show your support on the channel. It really means a lot to me. You're welcome to subscribe if you're new, and I'm delighted to let you guys know that this video is brought to you by Manscaped. That's right, if you're a big hairy boy like me and you want to keep trim and groomed, you could use that with a bunch of Manscaped products. Let's take a look at what they've got here. Your balls will thank you. Ooh la la, the new Manscaped shaver. All the shaver accessories, just a couple of the classics, ball toner and ball deodorant. You got the old Manscaped boxer shorts, beautiful wash bag, the Manscaped refined cologne, which I'm wearing right now and smells great, the infamous weed whacker for those nose and ear hairs, gentlemen, and finally, I'm sure you've got some already, but ball wipes. Ding! Due to my partnership with Manscaped, you can get 20% off and free shipping when you use my code THERAPY at manscaped.com. That's right, 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped. Go check it out. Amazing deal. Alright then, let's get into it. So let's start off with some big positive news. Trevoh Chalobah has signed till 2025. A new 4.5-year deal extension. Ooh! And my word, this lad deserves it. Just a few months ago, Trevoh Chalobah was one of those classic Chelsea loanees, jumping about championship clubs. He did well to go over to Ligue 1 and play in France. And he absolutely did himself no damage with some excellent performances, of course playing a lot in central midfield as well. And when he returned to pre-season under Thomas Tuchel, we just assumed he'd be making up the numbers. A training cone, if you will. You'd be like, oh look, there's Lewis Baker. Oh look, there's Danny Drinkwater. Oh look, there's Trevoh Chalobah. And there's no disrespect to him. I think he did well in Liga, and I think he's highly rated, but this was the perception of him largely. Do you know what I mean? He's just one of these Chelsea youngsters. Do we think he's going to have a chance considering the talent we've got in the squad? I'm not so sure. Turns out, baller. And a great deal of credit needs to go to the Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel, who looked at him and went, yeah, this guy's good, he's fine. I can make it work with him. This is good. Used him pretty much all throughout pre-season, used him in the Super Cup, and now if we have to drop him into a high-profile Premier League game, you are not at all sweating. You're like, yeah, this dude can absolutely be dropped in and we can feel safe and fine. And that kind of caliber of player deserves a Chelsea first team level contract. And he's been rewarded with that, and that's absolutely superb. Something that I saw Alex Goldberg tweet that actually made me reflect. He was talking about how Trevoh Chalobah hasn't been called up for the England squad, and I thought, oh, come on, steady on, mate. But then I thought about it, and I thought about the centre-backs like Mings and Cody getting called up, and I was like, you know what, yeah, Trevoh Chalobah maybe should have been called up for the England squad. Regardless, even if we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, he's been absolutely immaculate for Chelsea. He's already played in the middle, on the right-hand side, and he's even dropped into midfield for a short amount of time under Thomas Tuchel. So he's trusted as a versatile player who's strong, who never drops concentration, and that's exactly what you need at this level. So we can be absolutely amped that Trevoh Chalobah has put pen to paper and committed his long-term future to Chelsea Football Club. Woo! Speaking about contracts as well, I think the same situation with Andreas Christensen is the idea is, or the perception is, that he will sign, he will extend. Certainly it's more of a safe bet than Antonio Rudiger. I think Antonio Rudiger wants to stay at Chelsea. He wants to stay being coached by Thomas Tuchel, who's made him this great player. But I think he also understands how this is his last chance to get a big, high-paying contract that he will be able to get paid. Whether it's at Chelsea or whether it's elsewhere, he will get that 200k a week. Plus, or we don't know how much he wants, but let's just say it's 200k a week, because that's a rumoured figure. If he signs a contract as a free transfer elsewhere, he'll absolutely get that figure in his contract. He'll absolutely get those wages, and he can start negotiating that in 2 months' time, in January, obviously with foreign clubs. So Chelsea needs to keep an eye on that. I think for us, in the case of Antonio Rudiger, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Right, let's move on to the next part of the video and talk about Thomas Tuchel's press conference. A couple of notable things that I wanted to talk about in what Thomas Tuchel spoke about is the return of Mason Mount. He had some problem with his tooth, like a wisdom tooth infection, so he probably had some flu-y symptoms, hence his omission, but yet again he'd called up for the England squad, so Thomas Tuchel was posed the question, this is another situation when he's not playing for Chelsea, yet he's been called up for England, which Thomas Tuchel explained, yeah, it's not like an injury, it's a tooth thing, and you know what, he's in sort of contention to play this weekend, so that's all good, positive news, even if he just comes off the bench. And there's been another injury, and that is Marcus Alonso, of course, not a sort of first 11 player at the moment because Ben Chilwell is playing so well, but ultimately, we have trusted Marcus Alonso this season, Thomas Tuchel certainly has, so he will feel frustrated that he's not available. He got like a thigh injury at the end of the last game against Malmo, and he hasn't able to come back from training yet, so we'll feel an absolute safe hands with Ben Chilwell locking down that spot and hopefully playing really, really well this weekend. We'll have to see. Right, let's move on to the next part of the video and talk about Tino Anjorin. I'm going to be citing an article from Football.London talking about the metatarsal injury. Tino Anjorin, by the way, his loan with a buy option to Lokomotiv Moscow was certainly interesting because he was like star boy of Chelsea, a sort of like hybrid of Ruben Loftus-Cheek and maybe more of a striker, winger maybe a sort of Loftus-Cheek meets Callum Hudson-Odoi. For us to loan him out with an option to buy, and he had been sort of semi-utilised a little bit by Thomas Tuchel and Frank Lampard giving him his debut, it was a bit of a weird one. Let's jump into this article by Football.London and find out what's going on. Chelsea loanee Tino Anjorin will return to West London on Friday to begin his recovery from a broken metatarsal suffered in Lokomotiv Moscow training ahead of their Europa League game against Galatasaray. Despite being highly regarded by Thomas Tuchel and those within the first team coaching staff at Chelsea, Anjorin joined the Russian side in the summer on a season-long loan that includes a £17 million option to buy that Lokomotiv can trigger from January. Yes, £17 million, 1-7, not much at all, especially when he's so highly rated. Like, I've watched him live as well, I thought he's an absolute baller. He's built really big, he's got technical toes, he's a bit like Ruben in many ways, but he sort of plays on the wing sometimes as well, as he can play as a number 10 or as a striker down the middle. Really versatile and really good, and many thought he was the future of Chelsea's attack. Let's read on. It was a decision taken to ensure Anjorin played regular first team football this season, having spent the majority of the previous campaign on the fringes of the senior setup at Chelsea. The 17-year-old made just one substitute appearance under Tuchel despite training under the German throughout his tenure. Yeah, maybe he didn't play that much under Tuchel, but I remember him constantly being around the first team. I guess that's perhaps what I was thinking of. Anjorin, who was handed the previously retired number 10 shirt at Lokomotiv, made the ideal start for his new club as he struck a late equaliser against Marseille on his Europa League debut. 7 appearances have been made by Anjorin since, but only 2 of those were starts as he spent time building up his fitness following the 8 months without regular game time at Chelsea. There was belief Anjorin, a signing pushed by Lokomotiv's sporting director Ralf Rangnick, was finally ready to play week in, week out for the club. However, in training earlier this week, he broke his metatarsal in his foot and is now forced to face a period on the sidelines. By the way, I broke my metatarsal last summer. Some of you might remember me either sitting down or with crutches or leaning for a long amount of time. It is an absolute bugger of an injury. It's why the decision has been taken for Anjorin to return to Chelsea to undergo his recovery and rehabilitation. He is, as things stand, expected to return to Lokomotiv before the campaign restarts in March after a long winter break. Football.London understands that if Lokomotiv do make Anjorin's move permanent, Chelsea will be able to buy him back for £34 million. To be honest, that buyback isn't ridiculous, £34 million. I think Tino Livramento's a lot more, so I've heard. Do I think this deal will go ahead now though? Because it's a season-long loan. Obviously they can make the deal permanent after January, but they'll probably wait more time to decide that for him to completely rehabilitate from his broken metatarsal, which by the way, can take a little while to, it depends how how bad the break is, but I had a zone 1 fracture all the way through. It took me ages to be back on my feet properly. So will his loan spell at Lokomotiv actually be successful? I mean, suppose he comes back after March, after the long winter break. It's a weird one. Personally, I quite like the idea of Tino Anjorin staying with Chelsea. So good, but I would have liked to have got a European loan, not such a cold loan in Russia basically, and maybe no option to buy. Still, it's a weird one. I'll be really keen to hear your thoughts, feelings and opinions on the Tino Anjorin situation, because it got me thinking about this story and I wanted to talk about it in today's video. So make sure you comment down below your thoughts on Tino. Also, comment your thoughts on all the stories that I've spoken about in today's video. I'll be keen on starting up the conversation with you guys, and if you have enjoyed my content, please do drop a like, or if you haven't, drop a dislike. Hey, let's just get the interactions on the video. Dear sweet friends, remember to go check out Manscaped, my partner for this video. 20% off and free shipping. Not bad, eh? Pretty darn good. All those trimmers, etc. Alright guys, enjoy the football. I'll see you later.
You ain't so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought. Body bag the verse, outlined in chalk. In my life seen trouble, hustle on the double. Silence on the trigger like my pick got a muzzle. Yo chick like to guzzle, bad boy stay in trouble. I only love this paper, sorry I don't. I laugh me baby.